John, K0PJJ. This video is on the basic usage of Wsjt, whichever version you're using. There's tons of videos out there on installing it, along with lots of documentation, so we are not going to cover getting your radio configured, your sound cards configured, or anything like that. We're basically going to jump into FT8 and FT4. This is a very fun digital protocol. It's like a worldwide game of tag or hide and seek. Lots of great digital certificates and things like that out there available for you. So these are some common questions that I've been asked through Facebook or other options like that, and I just wanted to share these answers with you to try and get you out there on the air getting QSOs. So if you like this video, please feel free to like it, share it, or more importantly, if you see me out there calling CQ, respond to me. Let's get each other in the logbooks. I hope you enjoy, and remember, I am a complete amateur, not only in radio, but in video, and it will definitely show. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start WSJTX up. Before we do that, always remember to sync your time and make sure your radio's on. If your radio's not on, you will receive a configuration error asking you to select which configuration. A lot of times you'll have to exit it, start your radio, and restart WSJTX. And the time, well, you always want your time in sync for decoding, because if your time is out of sync, it will not properly decode or show you decoded messages. But before we touch into that, let's go over the basic configuration we need to look at to double check before we start going. So we're going to click on File, we're going to click on Settings, and we want to make sure our call sign's filled out, our grid square's filled out. Myself, I like TX messages to RX frequency window. That'll place those messages you send right over here. Another couple things I like, double click on call sets TX enable. So basically in the left hand window, if you see somebody calling CQ, you can just double click on them to start the QSO going and respond back to them. Disable TX after sending 73. That'll stop transmissions automatically for you once you've sent to 73. You may have to re-enable with a manual transmission if the person did not receive your 73 to resend it again, but that'll keep it from just going and going till you stop it. Calling CQ forces call first, excuse me. This is a good one to keep checked, because we do want that when we're calling CQ for 90% of the time, we want to be in that first time slot. But more importantly, forces call first. I can't speak today. If you send CQ and you have multiple people responding to you, the first person that it decodes responding to you is who the messages will continue on with, and it'll continue the QSO with automatically. Next thing we want to look at is, we've talked about double click on call sets TX enable. We're good there. Let's go over the reporting tab. I like to get prompted to log a QSO, so I don't forget to manually log it. It's great when you're starting out and you're just getting used to it. Down the road you can change that to be however you feel most comfortable. I also like to make sure DB reports to comments so that that's logged with the QSO. Then another one that I find is very important, or helpful to me at least, is enable PSK reporter spotting. This means that if you've got a full-time internet connection, whenever you decode somebody, it'll put a report out there to PSK reporter saying that you heard them or you saw them. That can be beneficial for them if they're trying to troubleshoot their system. All right, next let's talk about the waterfall for a second, the wide graph. Up here are the signals coming in based on what frequency you're on and what mode you're on. When you are looking for signals, it's very important that you look at your red up here, which is transmit, green here is receive. You never want to click and transmit over somebody else's here, so you'll always want to look for an open spot. Some shortcuts are, if you hold down Control and left click, it'll move your transmit and receive markers to that same section. If you left click and hold Shift, it'll move your receive, or I'm sorry, your transmit only. If you hold Alt and left click, it'll move your receive. But 90% of the time, you're going to want to start off with them being in the same spot. And whenever you respond to a CQ or somebody responds to you, your green will move around and your red will stay on this open frequency. And we ensure that by having this checkbox here, hold TX frequency checked. Because you don't want your TX frequency to move on top of the person you're trying to respond to. It'll start drowning them out. All right, let's get started. So we're here in the 20 meter band. We're using FT8, but as you notice here, we're not decoding anything even though we're seeing signals up here. The reason for that is I offset my time because this is a common mistake. If you do not sync your time, you don't see anything. And I've seen many questions saying, well, I see it in my graph, but I'm not seeing anything decode. So on Windows, what we're going to do is we're going to right click on our clock. We're going to select adjust date and time. And I turn mine off of manual sync, but we're going to switch it to automatic sync. So we're going to set time automatically. And it takes it a moment on this machine. Then we're going to click sync now. And it's going to bring us to the current time. So I'm going to close this. And here momentarily we should start seeing some signals decoding like that. Now let's go ahead and see and try and make a QSO. To do this, as you notice, we're here. If we want to call CQ, this is what we'll be doing. But I see this one and 3 atom zebra. I'm going to double click on that CQ, and as you can see, it pulled that CQ over here and what I am transmitting into this one. We're going to give them a moment to see if they'll respond to us. And you notice that our red stayed where it was, and our green moved to the area that he or she was transmitting in. There we go. We've got a response back. So now we started off with 1. We're sending our signal report here in response to his signal report or her signal report. And if you follow it through, it'll step right down these automated transmission lines to make a quick QSO. Again, this is for weak signal fast. It's not to rag chew. It's for fun and getting out there and making some contacts, which is what I hope to see you guys doing. Now we've got our Roger, Roger, Roger back, and we've sent our 73. And you notice our enable TX went away because we sent our 73. We got our window to log the call, so we're going to go ahead and log that call by clicking OK. We now have them in our log. If we wanted to initiate and call CQ ourselves, we're going to go down here. TX6 is selected with CQ, our call sign, our grid square, and we're going to click Enable TX. And again, we are still on an open frequency up here. So we'll give this a couple of transmits out and we'll see if we get any response on it. But this is the basics of it. It is very simple. And there's a lot to learn and a lot more advanced things we can get into. But we're just here to cover the basics to get everybody on the air with a basic understanding of this. At any time, you can get back to me. Oh, look at that. We did have somebody just get back to us right here. So we're going to go ahead and, as you notice, we're on transmit 2 for sending their signal report, and we're going to go through the cycle again. But send us questions. Send me a question or a comment if you have any questions. I'll be glad to try and answer them as I can, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. So you got to bear with me, and hopefully we're going to get through this one here fairly quickly. Which we did. We got through. We received a 73. We've sent our 73, and we're logging another report. So there we have 2 QSOs very quickly. It's very nice, very streamlined. But you always don't get responses like that from people. You need to have patience. And patience does pay off, especially if you're going for a DX or something like that. They may be backlogged with calls that you aren't seeing because you're not receiving them. So keep that in mind and just sit there and let it call for somebody. Give them a chance to work a few and keep you in the queue. Now, let's say we wanted to work on FT4. This has been on FT8. We're going to click our mode and we're going to go over to FT4. And as you can see, we're going to do a little bit of a shift on the waterfall. And before we call a CQ or respond to anything on FT4, we're going to do like we did with FT8. Let's keep a look at this signal usage up here and make sure we're in a blank spot, because there is no reason for us to step on somebody. All right, let's see if we can call let's try a response on this one and see what we can do here. So I'm going to double click it again, which is sending this first one for the transmission step, and you can see what we're sending right here. We'll give it a moment. If they hear us, sometimes FT4 goes a lot quicker than FT8, and it's great for making quick contacts, especially for your worked all states and things like that. And we do have a response. Our signal reports are through. One more, and then we should be sending a Roger Roger and being able to log this. And here it comes. There we go. Another quick one done and in the books. Now on that note, I'm going to pause this for a second, bring up a different screen. Excuse the non-functioning of good fades and that, but I want to show you what PSK Reporter is if you're not familiar with it, since we talked about it earlier. A browser. I've opened up pskreporter.info. This is a tool we can use to check our reception reports. Earlier in settings, when we selected Report to PSK Reporter, this is where the reports go to. What this will allow us to do is each one of these flags are somebody who's heard me and how long ago and where they're located. I got that by selecting all bands, signals, sent by, the call sign. I've entered my call sign in here. I've selected all modes, and I've selected a time frame, and I've clicked go. This will go through, it'll reload, it'll show us interesting things, show us how propagation is doing, show us to make sure that our signal's getting out, or how far it's getting out, and what direction it's getting out. This is a good tool for you to get to know and get to use. There's plenty of documentation available out there. Just give it a Google. Thank you. All right, in conclusion, a couple little things to keep you in mind here for you. We have different types of CQ calls. CQ, a call sign, is a general CQ open to all responses. CQ followed by the abbreviation for a state or a country abbreviation, please only respond to that if you are the requested state or country. CQ, QRP, is a low power transmission. You can respond to that at any power level. They're just letting you know that they are sending in QRP. CQ POTA for Parks on the Air, open for responses. CQ SOTA, Summits on the Air, open for responses. CQ VOTA, Volunteers on the Air, always great to respond. These are ARL volunteers running for a one-year contest to see how many contacts they can get. And CQDX is a DX search. If you're not in a DX area, I would pass on responding to this one because they're looking for specific responses only. Now, if you need some other resources, there's some good work on RedEdit and Facebook. I'll go ahead and leave these up here for a moment so you can copy them down and have fun with this. Never be afraid to ask, and you can still comment or make questions on this video, and I will try and get back to you if I know the answer. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.